Welcome. I'm Monique. This is Natasha and Jackie. We have read this amazing book called The Scarlet Letter, and we're going to talk about chapters 10 through 14. And to help us with this is all-time critic Kermit the Frog.
Hello, Kermit the Frog here. I'm read Scarlet Letter and I'm here to critique it.
Great. So, in your words, can you give us an overview of these chapters?
I thought you might ask something like that. Alright, so I have a little ticker written down. Okay. Well, as Monique first mentioned, we read chapters 14, or she may have mentioned, I wasn't quite paying attention. Okay. Through chapters 10 through 14, starts off with the conflicted minister Dimsdale becoming Chillingworth's patient/puzzle. Dimsdale and Chillingworth see Pearl dancing through the graveyard looking for burrs for the putting of on to Hester's egg. Chillingworth speaks up to Dimsdale while he is sleeping and moves his shirt. What he sees on Dimsdale's chest causes Chillingworth to exclaim with joy, but at this point the reader does not know what it is. Through these chapters, Chillingworth investigates the identity of Pearl's father. Dimsdale deteriorates both physically and mentally. He beats himself all-night vigils accompanied by frightening visions. Dimsdale mounts the scaffold. Overcome by self-hatred, Hester and Pearl see Dimsdale and join him on the scaffold. Dimsdale sees a letter A written in the sky by a meteor. Hester then begins to notice the changes in Dimsdale. Hester has been given credit for bearing her shame, and her scarlet letter A now stands for Abel, although she still has no friends. While walking on the peninsula with Pearl, Hester sees Chillingworth and sends Pearl to play. While she confronts Chillingworth, she sees the dramatic changes in him, and she feels responsible for another ruin. He then releases her, after argument, from her vow of secrecy to his identity.
So, Kermit, can you tell us what character had the most significant change?
That would have to be Dimsdale. At the start, he was a good man. He was really a good man, but towards the end, he became insane. He started to beat himself. He saw visions. He spent all night on the scaffold, and he physically and mentally tortured himself. And I feel that was the most dramatic change in a human being throughout these chapters.
What about Hester and Chillingworth?
Hester, she becomes a more active part in the society. She, although is described as a harsh and a more aggressive human being, she is more active and she gives to the poor, though she is still friendless.
And Pearl?
Pearl just grows up. She doesn't really change.
Very interesting.
I thought so too.
So what types of figurative language did you find?
Tricky. See, in these chapters there wasn't much, but, well, the title of the first chapter, chapter 10, is listed as, let me just get to my page here, the leech and his patient. Now, the leech is referring to Chillingworth, and, well, Chillingworth being the leech in this scenario, it's a metaphor for, well, his parasitic nature with Dimsdale. When Dimsdale views him as the parasite, and it's very true. Chillingworth is unrelented in his, it's not my bad. He's relentless in his efforts to cure Dimsdale, who, in Dimsdale, in his opinion, views it's up to God.
Hence the leech.
The leech. Very good.
What types of imagery did you find in these chapters?
Imagery. There were quite a few. There was the imagery of the black flower that was on the grave in the graveyard when Chillingworth and Dimsdale were talking about unknown sin. That imagery plays a part in allowing the victim to see the physical effects of sin that is not released into the world. And I feel that is the most major instance of imagery in these chapters.
Would that also tie in with symbolism?
That would indeed.
What other symbols did you find?
Well, other than that flower, the major symbol would have to be I would have to say the meteor. The meteor was oftentimes viewed as destructive and fiery, and the meteor in this instance representing the sin that it forms the A of, Hester's sin. It represents the wrathful and destructive sin of adultery that Hester had committed. Though the townspeople did view it as Winthrop's ascension to heaven, the A meaning angel.
Do we have any more questions?
Do
I
you?
think so.
I think that's all.
Great. Well, guess that's all we have for today.
Thank you.
We
Thank
want
you
to
for
thank
having me.
Kermit the Frog for coming.
Turn to me.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed this visit. Read the Scarlet Letter.
Next up on your program is the local news.